So I'm hearing that EJ, the big fish, is close to retiring. Yeah, he close to making that decision without getting his get back from Terrence Bud Crawford. We gonna cook on this. We also gonna talk about what would have happened if Bud and EJ had a fault when EJ was that ninja with that shag. Let's cook on all this. But before we do, make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's cook. So yeah, what's happening, y'all, man? Hey, let's just keep it a buck, man. I'm hearing that Errol Spence is close to making a decision on retiring. Now, we've been hearing rumors for quite some time now that he's supposed to come back and fight Sebastian Fundora. Sebastian Fundora is a very risky fight for Errol Spence, especially with the situation that EJ has had going on. Now, we haven't heard from Errol Spence himself, right? But I got people that I talk to behind the scenes that's telling me, hey, EJ might not ever get back in the ring. EJ might retire. He close to making that decision. And let's keep it a buck, man. The last time that we heard Errol Spence talking during the weekend of Frank Martin and Gervonta Davis, he was pretty much saying all of this stuff himself. He was saying, well, I might come back and fight one more fight. I might not. Like, when they was asking him about, was he coming back and when he was coming back, and he was saying, well, I don't know, maybe December sometime, November, like, I don't know, right? But he also continued to say things like, hey, I'm loving being on the promotional side. I ain't got to worry about taking this punishment. I'm going to have to retire sometime soon anyway. I don't want to be one of those fighters that overstay my welcome in the ring. And so, man, he was basically letting us know back then that he was still, in between making that decision. And he didn't want to be one of those fighters that was out of the sport, but just in the ring to get one more bag. And if he goes in the ring, right, and fights Sebastian Fundora, knowing that he's going to retire after this, that's exactly what he'll be doing, is going in the ring to get one more bag before he call it quits. But let's keep it a buck, right? When we talk about the situation with Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, that was the fight that both fighters were looking forward to for years. They couldn't go nowhere without each one of them getting asked about the next man. Like, that's just real. So essentially, both the Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, every fight that they fought, from, let's say, from like 2018 up until they finally got in the ring, every fight that they fought, they knew in the back of their mind it was one step closer to meeting each other inside that square circle. And we heard from Terrence Bud Crawford, that he might not fight again. The only fight that he was looking forward to was Canelo Alvarez. And if he don't get that fight, he pretty much retiring himself. When it comes to Errol Spence, it's crazy because Canelo Alvarez was basically the end all for both Terrence Bud Crawford and EJ. Because, see, not only did Terrence Bud Crawford want a Canelo Alvarez fight, Errol Spence wanted a Canelo Alvarez fight for years, right? I think Errol Spence's plan was to beat Bud Crawford and then fight a Canelo Alvarez and get that big payday. So both of them, after they fought each other, they only had one big thing to look forward to, right? One big name to get up for, and that was Canelo. Bud Crawford, he did what he did against Errol Spence, and he was on cloud nine, man. I mean, he did a press tour promoting himself after he beat Errol Spence for seemed like 4 or 5 straight months. He was on cloud nine. But now after he seen that he pretty much probably ain't gonna get a Canelo fight, he ain't trying to hear that. And Errol Spence, man, after he took that L and how he took the L from Terrence Bud Crawford, man, he doesn't talk the same way, right? He doesn't talk with that conviction in his voice. He don't talk with that confidence that he once had. It's kind of like, hey, it is what it is, I might come back, I might not. And so, man, I'm riding with EJ, whatever he decides to do. But one thing that I've never been, and I refuse to be, is I'm not going to be a delusional fan, right? One of these fans that tell you, oh, man, he needs to come back, man. Man, he wasn't right at 147. He'll whoop Terrence Bud Crawford right now. He won't beat Bud Crawford right now. He just won't, because his mental is not there, right? He already checked out. He don't even want that fight. Let's just keep it real. He don't want that get back no more, because once the adrenaline wears down, once time passes and you got time to think about it, he thinking like, I'm not at my best no more. I'm not in my prime. And that brings me to the question what if Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford had a fault when EJ was that ninja with that shaft, when he was in his prime? You know what I'm saying? When he was training with Blu-ray in tip-top condition, when he was still focused before he let all of the outside distractions, take him downhill, all the way downhill to where he had to, get back, where he had to get himself back. What if they had a fault back then? And that's a good question, right? That's a question that I've asked myself. That's a question that, probably most Errol Spence fans ask themselves. What would have happened back then? The answer is we don't know, but I guarantee you it would have been a much different fight. Now, I'm not saying that Bud Crawford wouldn't have beat him then, but what I'm saying is it would have been a much more competitive fight, and I think it would have been a tooth and nails fight. What we saw last July was a fight that was a mismatch, right? Looked like that Errol Spence didn't even belong in the same ring with Terrence Bud Crawford. And when we seen that, we knew that Errol Spence wasn't the same fighter. Just is what it is. Not taking nothing away from Bud, but it is what it is. So, it's questions that we got to ask. It's just like kind of asking, what would Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes would have looked like if Muhammad Ali was in his prime? We'll never know that, So it's kind of like one of those scenarios, but hey, man, that's not Terrence Bud Crawford's fault, because Bud, he did what he had to do. He stayed focused throughout his career. He never let nothing outside of the ring distract him. He never put no poison in his body, and Errol Spence did all of the opposite. He did the complete opposite, so you got the outcome that you got. But, man, yeah, if Errol Spence does decide to get in there and decides, I'm not going to retire, he got a problem on his hand if he go in there against Sebastian Fundora, because Fundora, we saw last time he fought against Tim Tszyu, something clicked in him, and he said, you know what? I'm actually going to listen for once to the people that's been telling me to use my jab, to stay on the outside, use the length and the attributes that I have. And he did that, and we seen a completely different looking fighter with Fundora. Although he was fighting somebody that was handicapped in Tim Tszyu at the point in time. But, I mean, the game plan that he stuck to for that fight, it was tremendous, and it was scary at the same time, because imagine if he continues to fight like that. That's why this is a dangerous fight for Errol Spence, and I'm going to keep it real. I'm a huge Errol Spence fan. I rock with him, but I wouldn't pick him to beat Sebastian Fundora coming off another 17-plus month layoff, because he going to be out the ring at least 17 months probably if he does come back. And nah, that's a no for me. He's already been out of the ring and had too many layoffs. And then, talking about being out of the ring another 17 months at this point in time, with everything that's happened to Errol Spence, to keep it a buck, it's time to hang up the gloves. It's time to hang it up. Like I said, I'm not a delusional fan. But anyway, y'all let me know how y'all feel. Do y'all think that Errol Spence is going to decide to hang up the gloves? What y'all feel? Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel, and y'all already know how I do. Tego talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.